Hi there, and welcome to my crib. Another day, another full day of webinars and online training. So, how to optimize your sound? Um, Basically, the first thing we talk about is the room. The room is many things. The room consists, of course, of the furniture you have in the room, a lot of reflective surfaces. It consists of the screen. It consists of whatever you are presenting. If you are doing food, if you are doing guitar lessons, or whatever you are doing, you have reflections from the surfaces around you. Surfaces, if they are hard surfaces, they are reflecting. If they are soft surfaces, they are basically absorption. So I will be talking a little about the difference here. The background noise, I will talk about the background noise, how that will ruin the speech intelligibility. And then again, because coming from DPA microphones, I will talk about microphones, the type of microphones and the placement of microphones. A little bit about bandwidth. Not so much about video bandwidth and audio bandwidth, just the fact that you have to be aware that you have enough bandwidth so you avoid lacking and you avoid bad audio. I don't care too much about the video because it's all about audio, right? And then lastly, about audio processing, like the post work. What do we do to the signal? Maybe if it's a recorded webinar, what do you do in the post-production, or what do you do on the way, and why do you have to treat it? Okay, firstly, the room. Living room, whatever you're sitting in, your bedroom, or your bathroom even, or outside. We have reflections, as I said before. We have reflections from the walls. We have reflections from the ceiling, from the floor, from everywhere. If we are using our kitchen, if it is an industrial kitchen with a lot of tile walls, a lot of hard surfaces on the floor, on the counters, we get a lot of reverb. Reverb is created when we have reflections from the sound source bouncing back to the microphone from different angles. If you just have yourself and one microphone and you don't have any reflections, you have the direct sound going straight to the microphone. But as you see on this illustration, we have a lot of reflective surfaces, and the sound is bouncing from all these different surfaces back to the microphone. Some of them to the front of the microphone, and some of them to the side, and some from the back of the microphone. Problem here is that they have different time domains. The sound bouncing to the back wall into the microphone is much later than the direct sound. So it's the same sound, because it's reflecting on a hard surface, will arrive at the microphone with a little delay, with a little latency. So the same sound will appear twice in the microphone, twice in the output. And that will ruin the speech intelligibility. That will create that reverb. So two suggestions. One is either to use a very damped room, a room with no reflective surfaces. Go outside where there's no wind, of course, and no background noise. Or you could just move the microphone closer to your mouth. Which brings me to the next topic, the microphone, of course. There are different types of microphones. We have omnidirectional microphones. Typically, Omni microphones are the microphones that we have in something like my camera here. My iPhone camera has an Omni microphone built in. And if I use that, now that is about 1 meter away, and if I talk into that microphone there, it should sound, I can't hear it, but I am assuming that it sounds a little worse, a little diffuse, or not so many reflections, because we're in my studio and I don't have any reflections, but still at a distance to me, as opposed to this one here, my headset, very close to the sound source. So there might be some reflections from the from my desk here, from the screens around me, but the sound from the direct sound from my voice is so much louder. This is also an Omni microphone. It has a pickup pattern which shows or means that it has a circular pickup pattern. That's what I'm trying to say. It has a circular pickup pattern, which means basically that it picks up sound from all angles. That's really convenient when you're working with a phone. You can hold the phone in front of you like this, or you can have it like this, or you can put it on the table. It will pick up the sound regardless. That's really convenient. As for headsets, it's also convenient that I can place it here, and even though my sound is coming that way, it will still pick up the sound. But because it's so close, it doesn't pick up the reflections. If you're using your phone as your microphone source, just put the microphone next to the mouth the same way, and you will basically have the same sound quality. The picture, though, won't be not so nice, because it will just show the inner ear. So maybe if you have two phones, you're broadcasting audio from one and video from the other one, or whatever you want to do. The point is, if you're using Omni microphones, you have to be as close to the sound source as possible. That's the point. You could also choose to use a directional microphone. A microphone that only picks up sound right in front of it, or it picks up more sound in front of it than sound from the rear. That's what this polar plot shows. You have to imagine that the microphone is right at the center of the polar pattern here, and the circle around the Omni microphone shows the sensitivity, or the amount of pickup from different angles. The one on the right hand side, the cardioid microphone, only picks up sound in front of it and somewhat on the side, but from the rear there's no pickup. That means that incoming sound from the rear of the microphone will not disturb the message. There won't be any disturbance of the speech intelligibility when you use a directional microphone. Directional microphones, they come in many different shapes. One of the more known in video conferences is something like this. This is a tabletop. It's a highly directional. It's like a super cardioid, it's called. It has almost no pickup from the rear, very little pickup from the side, and of course a lot of pickup from the front. It's very convenient because you can just put it on the desk in front of you. You don't have to use the computer's microphone, which is sometimes not so good. And you can remove the foam here. It's like a little sponge. You can rinse that in lukewarm water, so you get rid of all the germs, should there be any from any other participants to the meeting. This version here has a built-in shock mount, so you don't get all the noise from the table or from whatever, if you have handling noise. And it also has this option of this little extra preamp, a little we call it MMA, which has a microdot input. So you can connect the microphone straight to the MMA here. You can actually connect two microphones to it. I'm fumbling a bit here. It's actually should be very easy. It is. Connect it with a USB cable. There you go, to either your computer, or with a lightning cable to the to your iOS device. If you're using it on an iOS device, you can use the microphone in front of you, and you can use the camera as your broadcasting, your video camera. And then you get the best of both worlds. You get the good audio quality, and you get video or a video camera that is not filming your ear. So that's one solution. Directional microphone. If you want to use the same setup here with the same preamp, high-end preamp, but you want to do the same as me, you use a headset, and you can add the little foam, the little windscreen to it as well. It's easy to rinse. You can even have several of these, and then you can each person can have his own windscreen for personal use. I like to use the Omni headset because it's easy to place, it's easy to handle. It doesn't have handling noise. It follows the audio source. It follows me around when I'm looking at the screen, or I am turning around and I'm addressing this camera. The audio is the same no matter which camera I'm addressing. So I like to use headset. You can also use directional headsets. We have headsets that are directional in the angle towards the mouth. So if you're in a very noisy environment and you want to block all the reflections, or you want to block all the noise coming from left and right, you use a directional headset. But make sure that you use a headset where the microphone is pointing at your mouth. Some headsets, they are directional, yes, but they are pointing that way. So they are pointing at the reflective surface, which is the computer screen, or that screen there is also reflective. So make sure that it's pointing at your mouth and not away from your mouth. And make sure that you don't put it too far in front of your mouth when you're using a headset, because then you get the wind, the popping, and the plosives from the voice. Actually, you also get that on the podium mics, but because they have a better distance to the sound source, it might not be that big an issue. But that's the two different types of microphones. Omni microphones that picks up everything from all angles, and then the directional microphone for more focused sound. Directional microphones are a bit more sensitive to placement, because if I move a directional microphone, a headset for instance, I move it up here, it will pick up my cheekbone here. It won't pick up the so much of the mouth, of course. So the directional headset has to be placed very precisely to sound optimal. A directional podium microphone is maybe a little more forgiving. The Omni microphone, as you heard, I can move it. I have a much larger tolerance around the sound field. Of course, the level will drop if I move the microphone back or up or down. If I hide it underneath a scarf or inside my beard, I would have noise from the scarf or noise from the beard. But if you use one of the professional headsets like this one, this is not an advertising channel, but this is our new 6066 headset. It's very, very stable, and like you see on my face, it doesn't move around, so it feels very comfortable at the same time as being super stable. So it doesn't ruin the whole objective with the webinar, like which is get the message through. You don't want to talk about audio levels. You don't want to talk about scratching or background noise or the like. So you want to make sure that you have everything in place. So basically, back to the microphone types, we have also a excuse me. We have the handheld type, which could be something like this, like a vocal microphone. A vocal microphone is a directional. This one here is a directional microphone. It has built-in the pop filter, so you don't get the plosives that I was talking about before. And most people with a little practice, they can hold a vocal microphone. We see a lot of people holding it like here and thinking that that's very good, but actually it's now picking up a lot of noise or maybe creating some looping, some feedback. So if you, with a little practice, hold the vocal microphone like this, and then you probably will get a much better sound than the sound again from the camera. So that's another version. And the podium microphone I was talking about before. And then the lav mic. We have lav mics. Of course we have lav mics. Lav mics are basically microphones that are placed here on the chest. But the lav mics could also be placed here on the forehead. I'm doing another webinar about speech intelligibility, and I'm demonstrating what the difference in sound is from this position to this position, or even to the headset position. And it's remarkable. This sound is great when you use professional lav mics, but this sound here is even better. There's some acoustics helping the sound on the speech intelligibility above our head as opposed to below here. So placing microphones up here or a boom mic or whatever up in this position really helps the speech intelligibility. But if you have camera on yourself, like in this scenario, I would recommend that you maybe place it here and then do some audio treatment. I will come back to that later. Because it looks nice. Maybe not the beige for a dark shirt, but it could be like a brown, or it could be black, or if you are doing the chef show, you would use the white version of the lav mic and the white holders, because then it's totally discreet. But again, headset, I prefer the headset because it's so much closer to the mouth. And because these headsets are IP58 approved, we can rinse them. So all this, the germs and the risk of spreading the disease is not a problem. We can rinse the microphone in distilled water. I can show you actually. That's also another webinar. But I can take some demineralized water and I can rinse the microphone. What I want to do, I want to remove that grill. It has a little click. Maybe you can hear it. I remove the grill and I rinse that. And then I remove the capsule. It's good as new. Just get the water drops off. I pick out the grill and let it dry, and then it's as good as new. It works really well. So if you are worried that you will pick up a headset that someone else has been wearing, then you don't have to worry, because you can rinse it. Don't worry about it. You can even rinse the grill, the small grill that I put in here. Let's imagine that that's a little, that's now a little snaps. That's a little early for me to drink snaps, but you could, if you rinse it in alcohol, you are 100% sure that you won't get any germs. The lav mic also comes in a directional version. And obviously, if you have background noise, or you have many speakers, you probably won't these times. But if you did, you would have a lav mic, you could have a directional lav mic here, pointing at the sound source, pointing at your mouth, to avoid all these reflections or the background noise. So all the different types of microphones, they come in both Omni, that picks up everything, and the directional that are focusing on you. So lav mics in both directional and Omni. And headsets, same thing, directional, as I said before, and Omni. Moving on to what is the background noise. Well, background noise could be the wife vacuuming, or yourself. No, not yourself, probably. That would be really weird if you are walking around with a vacuumer and doing webinars, right? So someone else is making a lot of noise. It could even be an open window, open door or something, and you have traffic noise from the outside. Try to avoid that, because that ruins the speech intelligibility. The air condition or loudspeakers even could be a problem. Often that is like feedback from your computer speakers, or from the speakers that are playing back the system. And background noise could also be electrical noise, like lamps or television, or your computer if it has if it radiates electrical noise. Make sure that you use, of course, back to my heart, make sure you use professional microphones, because professional microphones, they have a good CMR, like common mode rejection, meaning that they reject all these noises. They reject the from the phone. If you use cheap microphones, amateur microphones, I was going to say, but I didn't say that. But not so good microphones, they will pick up all that irritating electronic noise, and that will again disturb the message. It will ruin the speech intelligibility if there is something in the background going da 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 all the time. Pardon my singing, or attempt to. So that is background noise. Keep away from background noise. Make sure that you have as little disturbance as possible around you when you do the webinars. So noise is not only noise, it could also just be the wind. It could be wind in the trees around you. They could be very loud. It could be the sea behind you. That is if you're outside, or if you have a house close to the sea and you have a lot of waves. That sound whoosh from the sea is a very irritating frequency, because that is ruining the speech intelligibility. We are talking about the speech intelligibility, where one of the most important frequencies of the speech frequency range is around between 2 and 4 kilohertz, and that sound from the sea or from a wet street behind you could ruin, or will ruin, the speech intelligibility. So make sure that you are aware of what is going on around you. Make a little test recording before you go live, and then listen to it and hear, is there something? Could be a squeaking floor, or it could be a squeaking door, or the next door neighbor that is making too much noise, and that will annoy the listeners. It is this way. If you can see the sound, if you can see what's going on, if you can see that the next door neighbor or someone behind you is playing a mandolin, or something is going on, then your brain can ignore that, because it doesn't matter. It's just not important for the message of the guy in the camera. But if you can't see it, if you get sound from noise from paper, or something that is or someone that is really irritating. If someone at a Skype meeting is sitting like this, and he doesn't know that, well, he thinks that it doesn't matter, and you hear some clicking noise, you don't know what that is. You don't know what that clicking noise is, but actually it's the idiot sitting with the pen doing this all the time. So tell him not to, because that's really annoying. Or the guy that's drinking coffee and he forgot the teaspoon, coffee filled milk, and he forgot the spoon. That sound is really annoying. So don't do it. Anyway, that's so much for background noise. Bandwidth. If you have bad Wi-Fi, or you have you are at the edge of your coverage, mobile coverage, you get lacking. And sometimes it's the video that is lacking. That's okay. We don't care about video. We care about audio. But if the audio is lacking, if you have a delay, if you have a sync problem between the video and the audio, that will also disturb the message. The receiver of the webinar, he will be focusing on other things like, why is the mouth not in sync? I don't know if I'm in sync today. I know that yesterday I did a webinar and it was totally out of sync. We don't know why that was, but I hope that this is better today, because otherwise it will ruin the message again. If you can't see the guy, or if it doesn't matter, but if you see him and there's something wrong with the picture, if he shows something else than he's talking about, that's also really annoying. So audio and video bandwidth is very important. Last thing I will talk about is the audio processing. Make sure that you have enough level. And again, I'm taking my own medicine, because yesterday I was doing a webinar and my levels were all over the place. I had something that was not working for me yesterday. So we have to make sure that that is in focus, because it's really annoying if you are listening to a webinar with headphones on it. And there's a sudden sound that is sticking out totally, like taking off, and it blows your head off, because you had to turn the volume way up because the guy speaking didn't turn his own microphone up high enough. He might be far away, and I'm going back to that microphone on the camera, and I'm going a little back, so he might be yelling and talking stuff, or he might be whispering, and it's really annoying because you can't hear what he's saying. We have so much background noise, we have things going on, and then all of a sudden you hear the sound from his voice and he's talking loud. That's really annoying. So what I just did, never do that. Levels, get the levels right, and if you have to, you can use some EQ. As I said earlier, the 3 kilohertz, or the area between 2 and 4 kilohertz, is very important for the speech intelligibility. So if that is lacking for whatever reason, it could be that you're placing the microphone on the chest, then you would have to compensate for the lack of 3 kilohertz, and do that with an EQ. And use compression with respect. Respect for the listener, respect for the dynamics of the voice. Some broadcasting channels or software, they have a built-in compression. They are making sure that you are not overshooting, and if there's something that's very soft, they will make sure that that the level is increased. But most of these automated systems, they sound really, really bad. So I would avoid, I'm not using any compression here. If you are experiencing any compression in the sound, or any EQing, anything, it's because it's done in the software, it's done in the Facebook. I'm using a fantastic microphone preamp here, and it goes straight into the system and straight to you. So I'm not using any EQ, any compressions, anything. I'm as clean as I can get. I even wash my hands, so super clean. So that's compression, that's EQ, and equalization. The last thing before we stop is, don't use loud headphones, open headphones that will spill back the audio to the microphone. If you're using headsets, of course, and you have to listen to what you are saying, make sure that you have headphones that are as closed as possible. Open headphones and headsets and loud headphones can sometimes be a real disaster. Make sure that your computer speaker is also turned down really low, and make sure that you don't have multiple sound sources, like speakers from all around you. It's nice to hear surround, but sometimes it's not so good to hear surround of your own voice, especially if you're doing webinars. So that was the quick and dirty. That was the fast run through of this. That was my half an hour. That was my 30 minutes of fame. Take care. Stay tuned.